Hi there, my name is Hannah Morell. I'm going to be reviewing Dave Ramsey's book, The Baby Steps Millionaire. I'm an atheist and a skeptic. I am not an expert on atheism or skepticism. My profession is that I am a holistic financial coach. So I want to say real quick, when I say holistic, I mean that I'm respectful of the fact that our money touches every part of our lives and our lives touch our money. When I say holistic, I do not mean anything woo. So there's no woo allowed. Um, so I initially, I've never read a Dave Ramsey book before, and I am in some ways his philosophical competitor, like the opposite of Dave Ramsey. So I wanted to read a book just to say that I had, and just to kind of get a deeper insight to what is going on there, because I have a lot of clients come to me and basically we're deprogramming, right? We spend the first couple sessions talking about why it didn't work and how they're not the problem, which we will talk deeply about in a moment. Um, so I was looking for a book to read, and I was reading Amazon reviews, and I saw on this particular book, The Baby Steps Millionaire, that there was quite a few reviews that said this is just a rehash of everything he's talked about before. So that piqued my curiosity. Is like, why would he even write the book then, right? Why do that? So that is why I chose to read, or in my case, listen to this book. And what follows are my unfiltered comments about that. So, a couple problematic things about the book, and I feel comfortable extrapolating out, like saying that this is the only book I've ever read all the way through, at least, of Dave Ramsey's. I feel comfortable like saying that this is a good representation of the rest of his system or curriculum, if we're calling it that. The first thing I noticed, really like right off the bat, is that he uses stories as social proof, which is fine. That happens a lot when we're trying to teach or sell. We use stories. But his stories, and just over a third of those stories, he is using. He makes a point to call out the race of the people involved, specifically black and brown people. He does not ever call about anybody who's white. Like the assumption is that the other people that he's not speaking to the race on is they're normal because they're white, and that is tokenism, and it's a problem, right? That is not acceptable, and there is no reason to call out anybody's race, or religion, really. Um, so yeah, he's using some tokenism there in the storytelling, which I really don't like. And in one case, at least, maybe more than one, but one that I can really distinctly remember, he also calls out that person's immigration status. And again, there's no reason for that. There's absolutely no purpose to that other than to say, like, I have black friends. So it's not cool. Another thing that you'll find all the way through everything he does, is a lot of language around shame, judgment, obligation, like forcing yourself. And so I'll read you a little list of, these are individual quotes, so this isn't all running together. So money is not the problem. The problem is in the mirror. You reap what you sow. The right way. You believe the wrong thing, so you make bad choices. Devoted followers of our teaching. Scratching, clawing. He uses language like diligence, restriction, obligations, the sacrificial plan, the scorched earth method, power through it, and actually do it. And I think one point he says, and I'm not going to quote this directly, but get your butt off the couch, something like that. Okay, so using obligation, shame, judgment, restriction, all of those things are what we do when we are trying to affect change for ourselves, specifically long-term positive behavior change. It is not effective. It does not work. It is also the only tool that we've ever been given, right? So we've only ever had these tools modeled for us of restriction, to make to-do lists up the wazoo, like the productivity, like all of that kind of stuff. That we are bathed in that from our childhood on. And what we want out of, I'm going to kind of lump it all together. I'm going to just call it shame, because that's what it is, right? If you don't do that thing, you should feel bad. Like if you're not productive enough, you should feel bad. So let's just lump it all together and call it shame. So the purpose of shame, what we want out of shame, is we want to be able to make the right choices, and we want to be able to make better choices over time. And that is what we want out of it, but that's not often what we get, right? Because we made choices in the past that led us to where we are now. Those may have been good choices at the time and then turned into bad choices. There is simply too much complication in our lives to expect us to have good or bad choices. And we'll talk about that more in just a minute. It's not realistic. It doesn't work, but we keep trying to do that over and over again. The other thing that we want out of shame and obligation and all the other things is we want motivation, I guess is the best kind of word for that. It's not. We want to keep ourselves moving forward. And what happens is we keep putting out effort over and over and over again, and we keep failing ourselves because there is no acceptable enough. And eventually we're just going to shut down. We're going to stop. We're going to protect ourselves by shutting down, and that's our brains functioning normally. We've also, again, this is the only way that we've been shown that we can make long-term positive behavior changes, by restricting ourselves, like no spend Novembers, or going on a crash diet. It's a fantastic example of this. That level of restrictions, our brains functioning normally do not like restriction and will rebel. And so you will eat the whole cheesecake, right? You will buy yourself a flat screen TV. You will, instead of paying your rent, you will get a tattoo or get your hair done, right? That's going to happen. So there are reasons for that I won't go into now. But there again, that's our brains functioning normally. But we somehow think that this is wrong. Hi, dog. Okay, going back again. So this our hyper focus on shame, judgment, obligation, his hyper focus on this is indicative of something that's deeply wound into us. It is deeply wound into our economy. Our economy is something called a low road economy. So low road economy basically is it is your value, your only value to your family, to yourself, to the world, is your production, what you can produce. So this is an economy that is based almost exclusively on exploitation. If you follow that path up the hill a little bit, if you follow that stream, if you go upstream a little bit on that, you're going to find like plantation, the work done by enslaved people, and you're going to find colonialism, right? So whatever value the world can get out of you, whatever work is your only value. The problem with that is that there is never going to be enough, right? You can give and give and give and give and give, and that's kind of what we expect out of ourselves as parents, as workers in the world. There's never going to be enough, and everything that we do ends up being wrong. So this expectation of perfection, of perfect productivity, is always going to result in us failing ourselves and sometimes pre-failing ourselves. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. So we got low road economics, we've got the judgment and shame, the productivity. Let's see. Sorry if you can hear my dog moving around there. Our fetishization of that bootstrapsy kind of thing that you hear a lot, especially in politics right now, is part of that. Like, your purpose is to produce. Am I saying we shouldn't be productive, we shouldn't be responsible, we shouldn't hold ourselves accountable, we shouldn't do things or accomplish things? No, I'm absolutely not saying that. What I am saying is that we don't need to be tying our self-worth to that, and that's where it becomes poisonous. So the message comes through loud and clear that if you don't make enough money, if you don't pay off your debt fast enough, if you have debt, if you don't pay down your debt, if you don't follow Dave's exact plan, then you are the problem. So there's a lot of victim blaming that goes into this. So I want you to kind of be hearing this from like a couple different lenses. So I hear this from like the financial coach side of things, but if you hear this from the religion side of things, you can hear lots of echoes in religion. Like, what has made religion work and made it sticky is all of these things. Like, this is all about like having you do and act without questioning. In fact, he even says, let me find it real quick. There is a right way. You must not question the answers you are given. And this is a separate quote. If something goes wrong, you didn't work hard enough. So I hate this so, so, so much. So that's like, if you, let's say you're questioning religion and they just say you need to believe harder. And he says this over and over again, this exact language. You need to believe, 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 believe. If you want to play a really fun drinking game, you can listen to this at double speed and drink every time he uses the word believe or belief. This also has echoes in like the MLM world, where they're pushing and they're hyping, but they're not providing any content, right? But there's also another kind of thing to think about, is like, if you've ever been in a partnership with someone who's a narcissist and have maybe been exposed to some domestic violence, he's using the same kind of tools here that make it that you're the problem, right? But a narcissist is never the problem, you're the problem. So ultimately, at its core, that's kind of what this is. Like, this is narcissism, and that is, this is not invented by Dave Ramsey. Like, he didn't invent economics, and he definitely profits from it. He definitely profits and exploits this tendency for us to push ourselves harder and harder and harder until we die, right? Like, that's what he's leveraging. This thing that has worked is marketing for him. Like, that's why his marketing and distribution through churches has worked so very well. And why I'll never be able to duplicate that is because we just do what we're told, right? And fold in the whole narcissist thing is like, if it doesn't work, then you're the problem. So in chapter 4, he explicitly says that he wrote this book so that you would believe. So he's very being a little more honest than I think he knows he's being. He wouldn't have to do that if he had a system that actually helped people change, right? Like, actually helped people grow or evolve. But he can't. The system cannot evolve. It can't change. And if you don't meet the requirements of that, then you did it wrong. In fact, I talk to people all the time who said, like, Dave Ramsey's program is great. I just couldn't keep up with it. Like, if hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people are saying that, it's not you. It's the system. So you can build a system, money system, diet system, whatever. You can build routines and systems around yourself that do not require obligation, that do not require shame, judgment, like leveraging those negative, making yourself feel like garbage is not a tool. And that's what he does. So, okay, I got off track a little bit. My coffee kicked in. So he says the purpose of the book is to make it so you can believe. The purpose of this book is essentially apologetics, right? This is his defense, his justification of his system. This is, how do I want to close this? This is gaslighting. That's all this is. And if you start to look at this through the lens of someone who's been gaslit or has left a religion, he's using the same tools, right? He's using the exact same mechanisms and language. He talks about devoted followers of his teachings like he's the Messiah. I think that's a little sacrilegious, if I thought that. So yeah, so my review is don't read the book, right? My review is, if you are already indoctrinated into Dave Ramsey's system, and you right now, at some point here, you've probably thought I was full of crap because I said something like, you don't have to obligate yourself. You don't have to shame yourself to get things done. Excuse me. Because that's the only way that we've ever accomplished things before, right? You don't need that. And in some ways, disconnecting someone from a negative, punishment-based system like Dave Ramsey's and moving them towards an adaptive, evolving money system that they build for their own lives very, very closely mirrors deprogramming someone out of religion or out of a cult. So give yourselves a lot of grace. Like, if you felt some anger towards me as I've been talking, reach out. I want to hear that, right? It's indicating some trauma there, and that's important. So don't shut it back down. Don't just walk around saying Hannah's a big butthead. I mean, so what if I am, right? Reach out and tell me what you think. Like, this is this is important, is to understand that you are not the problem. Maybe that's how we'll end it, right? Okay, so that's how we'll end it. You are not the problem, right? It's the system around you. And you can build good systems for yourself. You don't need him, or really me. My whole job is to eventually not be needed. You don't need him to do that. You could build your own money system. If you trust yourself and you're resilient, you absolutely can do that without him. So, okay, so I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and please like, review, and subscribe is the thing I'm supposed to say, right? Bye.